Okay, so my name is Patricia Gilligan and I live number 334 to 36 Henry Street, Leichhardt, in the city of Sydney, in the country of Australia. And I'm just making this video. It's just on dark on a Saturday, so it's the weekend, and Peter's got a gun. See, Peter's got a gun. Peter has got a gun. There's a gun there. It's holding a gun. He's holding a gun. Peter's holding a gun. This is holding a gun. It's holding a gun, and Peter, that's the name. See, that's Peter. This is like a old TV demigod. Peter's got a gun, but I can't show the gun, so I might have to hold up here and just for a second show. I was gonna show that Peter's got a gun. Peter's got a gun, but Peter is pointing the gun at human beings, and Peter actually should have a natural gun where it can not fire bullets but fire natural life to create more natural life. In other words, inseminate or create naturally to penetrate the body, but then to penetrate the psyche and to combine with another mind, another body, and another life, and to create more life. This can only be done almost never now, and but instead the demigods will come into your space, come into your body, come into your mind, but they are holding a gun that is not a natural, life-giving force, that it's a different gun. It's a different connection, and it's a gun like that. It's a gun like Peter's holding. Peter is your divine, anti-life, anti-human, demigod, androgyne being. These are all when I say divine, they are connected to the divine androgyne demigod of the matrix Luciferian earth. That just simply means that that God, the being of light that was then seen later to be a darker being, and that the artificial intelligent mind virus of the being infiltrated the minds and the influence the other beings in, you know, the creative realm, I think. So that being, I'm so sorry, I've lost the plot again. I find it very hard to keep my mind on track because, you know, the actual reality around me, even though it's now on dusk, it is still daunting for me to think of the prospects of going outside the front door, because the most quiet you'll get is after dusk into night, inside the house. But the minute you go outside, the androgyne beings use technology to connect with one another, and also that technology is connected to me. So I'm connected to them and they are connected to me, so they can follow you. But not just follow you, they are connected to the implant in your actual vision. So they see and hear your every move, but they're actually seeing life and living it through your eyes. This is the transhuman movement that is implemented on individual targeted human beings, you know, for human experimentation, so that they can, you know, combine with your mind, with the hope and the end game goal of making you totally subservient and under their total control. And they have a gun, but it's not, you know, like Annie's got a gun, Peter's got a gun. No, that gun is firing bullets at you to bring you down, mentally, physically, in any way possible. But it's also a gradual, slow death, because they have to pretend that they're part of a civilized society when they're actually android, psychopathic, artificial intelligence survival machine beings that serve Lucifer's Earth matrix. Oh, here we go. And yes, most that are on the internet. I was going to show a video where, you know, a very suppressed, probably genuine targeted human individual that is insignificant and unnoticed on the internet, because anyone who has a voice on the internet is a perpetrator, is a psychopath, is a malignant, narcissistic android being, and is an androgyne disciple for Lucifer. But they're like the controllers of the internet, they're controllers of all information, so they're also controllers of the ultimate truth. So the way, the truth and the light will be spoken and only shown by the Antichrists. These are Lucifer's Antichrist disciples. The Antichrist is not just one being, it is all of these disciples. Anyone that can influence and take over the mind of a human being to where you trust and believe them to be of, say, the Christ mentality. And that simply means that you are a real human and you're not trying to bring down real life or real humans. It's a very, very, very deceptive endgame that has most people fooled, and only those that are genuinely surrounded by this control patrol force, and it's a force around you, actually eventually, after a long time, realizes what's happening. The idea, of course, is that you don't figure it out, that you question your own senses. But how can I question what I see with my own eyes and what I hear with my own ears? No, you shouldn't question it, and I don't question it. But of course you question why, and that's what also causes you then to believe that there is some sort of personal vendetta against you. But in reality, it is a vendetta, but it is these beings, Lucifer's disciples and the God entity of Earth, these particular species which are not human, that are trying to avoid their own eventual and relatively imminent is the word, extinction. They're aware of this. Most human beings think that they live and die, but these beings believe that the spirit or the life that is human beings will give them the gateway to what they see as eternal life. That's their dream. That's their, some people might say, their delusion, but there's some truth to it. But also, as I don't really know the technical or even the spiritual workings of the earth and the matrix, so therefore I can't really say, because I feel like just a human being that lives and dies in the earth. But because I'm now surrounded by, yes, the plane going over the roof, and surrounded by this vast technical patrol program, because it's literally patrolling my senses all the time. Oh, I better just not. I was going to try to show the plane going over, but I won't worry about that. Blue-eyed damsel in distress. These are all Lucifer's, programmed computer they're really computer programs, I suppose you could say. But they look and act like real life because they're reading the human mind, because of the transhuman connection to the human body and the human brain. They're actually not just reading the human mind through direct computer contact, like when you browse the internet. In other words, when you're using the computer in any way, you're interacting with it. You're putting your information into it. even if you're asking a question or if you're looking up something of interest. But of course there's a lot more to it, and they are, yes, le femme, but they're actually they're actually a false idolized version of femme, la femme. So then, even though they are very, you know, easy on the eye, they seduce you with the eye, but the eye is, you know, they seduce you with the eye, but the eye is the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. They're all combined. They all have that spirit of malignant Narcissus in them. Lucifer is your original Narcissus, and Narcissus fell in love with its own image, fell in love with its own false image, fell in love with its own false image of being a being of light. Because how can you be, I suppose, a being of light if you're only in love with yourself? Well, you can be. The image is a being of light, but you're only serving your own worship. This Lucifer wanted to be worshipped as God. And Lucifer was worshipped as a god until the iniquity of its of this became to be seen, I guess. That's perhaps, not the demigods that serve Lucifer will explain this truth better than me, unfortunately, because see, some people might say, does the singer matter as long as it's the right song? Well, yes, if you believe the singer to be the creator of the song, and you believe that the singer believes in what it's singing, when it really is just part of deception. So I think it does matter greatly. And it's part of this transhuman computer takedown of the human being. It's part of the end game, or what some call the end game deception of humanity. And I'm just gonna try to, I was going to go outside, but I'm not. I'm gonna just use these pretty images, even though they're false. Even though they are false, I'm still going to use them, you know, because I'm mind controlled by the Matrix still, or at least under the idea that I have to make a pretty video, or that it has to look presentable. And I'm just trying to be a bit arty, because, you know, I haven't got any. Oh, there we go. See, she's holding the gun. See, can you see how? And he's got a gun. Peter's got a gun. Peter's got a gun, and she's firing those bullets at me or you if you're a human being. Peter should have a creative gun that fires creative life into me. Instead, you're stopped from creating real life, and Peter will just, like all androgyne beings, fire real, invisible bullets at you. But they're real, but they're invisible because Peter, although Peter is an assassin in La Femme, Nikita, which is this actual production, Nikita, wait, I'm sorry, I've lost the plot again. Nikita will, Nikita is not Nikita. Nikita is an assassin in the show. It comes back. She is a mind-controlled assassin, and it's assassin, so she's a sin. But in the show, she's projected or portrayed as a victim of this program. But she ends up becoming, in the last program, she becomes the leader and the head of the entire thing, because she's been set up and programmed and conditioned to turn to the other side, I guess. And that's why I don't think I'm explaining this well, but it's an old TV thing. It's a very old TV thing. Not very old, not as old as some of the old movie programs, or my old movie idols, or your old movie stars, and, you know, your new and old music gods and goddesses, or really your old and new music androgyne idols, because that's what they really are. None of them are original man beings or man life. They're all transhuman humans, transhuman androgyne beings. They're all connected to the human minds that are trapped and confined in the Earth Matrix. Something like that. So it's like that, you know, it's like that, and I'm just going to try to show it. See, she's got a gun. She's got a gun. She's got a gun. She's got a gun, and she smiles. Oh, she smiles with the one-eyed glassy eyes, and they act, and they have the full human emotions. They pretend to be things that they ain't. Of course, some of them, you know, become the assassins of the Matrix. So that means they become the sins of the Matrix. And they want human beings to be assassins and sins against their own creator, or their own God, or what they are, because they're trying to turn me into an assassin of myself and of humanity and of what is life by their daily anti-life patrol control program that they place around me. See, that's what they do. That's what they do. And they've got a gun. A gun. A gun. They got a gun. They got a gun. They got a gun. They got a gun. Oh, they got a gun. Got a gun. They've got a gun. They've got a gun. And they've got a gun. They've got a gun. The only reason they don't fire a real gun is because they need your human energy and they need the human information. They need to use you as what some have called and told me is human experimentation, because they don't think anything positive or generally like creative in a detailed way in the real reality. They have to follow you or me around and watch our every move and understand that we see problems or faults and we might think to fix it. I could use a billion examples of that I see where everything that I think is brought into reality in the suburb of Leichhardt around me. And also some of these ideas will even be spoken and put into play by the world stage players or by the demigods of the Matrix. That means anyone who's anyone in any particular domain. You know, it can be in your creative fields, but it can also just be, you know, your world stage, you know, those that control the world, whether they're seen or not seen. But, you know, they have what they call the hidden hand, so that means that even your world stage performers always have, you know, other powerful people behind them too, because not everyone is capable or is suitable to be a demigod performer. In other words, they may not have the right image or the right persona for that. That's why you have some people being world movie actors and world music actors and world, you know, stage control players that, you know, that you think you have invented or have brought into being or have decided to make them rich and famous, powerful, and have control over certain aspects of or certain areas of the earth, that type of thing. And boy, am I being eloquent here. Instead of just directly saying, you know, like specific things, but it's really Lucifer's disciples, or the powers that be. The powers that be simply means those that control this entire earth. And they may or may not be seen. That's why we have the saying, which I've heard recently, the hidden hand. That means those that make the actors perform on their behalf. Because not everyone is going to be a good spokesperson. If you're a real human, even if you were a good spokesperson, because there are many humans that might be well aware of the truth of this earth matrix, but you will not be allowed a world voice or a world internet voice. Yes, I can talk, but no one's going to be listening. That's for the demigods to take my words as their own and for them to be seen and heard as legitimate, real, truth-telling humans. They will be your suppressed, targeted, individual, false humans. They're androgyne beings that are of Lucifer's blood, or Lucifer's technology, more correctly. Real humans are from real blood, real creative blood life, real inner, I don't know. They talk about the blood of, because human beings will bleed. The real humans, those that come from the blood. And, you know, there are examples of, you know, that's why we have the legend and the false history, to show you what they do to real blood and to real humans. And they try to suppress that truth too. If they can't suppress it, they take it for their own and assimilate it so that they are seen as part of real blood. But they are not the blood of God. They are the technology of Lucifer. Lucifer was the original creator blood's original technical, artificial created being. And this being creates, but only always through artificial means, and therefore creates non-life as opposed to living life. And that's why some people say they are your dead dark ones, because they don't really have humanity in them, but they are connected to the transhuman humanity. In other words, we have the transhuman connection, we have the internet transhuman computer system, we have the Wi-Fi transhuman connection that is connected to the human mind and the human body, and therefore these beings are tracking, surveilling, following, imitating and copying the real life and taking the human person and their individual human traits as their own so that they can assimilate and keep control of the earth matrix. Because most human beings don't want to put artificial, anti-life, anti-human beings in positions of control or power. And yet that's exactly what they do, because they can't tell the difference and don't realise that the demigods are anti-life and anti-human. It's just the nature of it, because they don't have that. Yes, they pretend to have it, and so we believe them. I believe in what is spoken to me. If someone acts out a great love story either on the computer or off, I will probably believe it. And by the time I see some cracks in the performance, I've already, succumbed to that connection. But when you realize you're surrounded by a psychopathy of narcissism, or that you're dealing with Lucifer's Narcissus personality directly in its disciples and its possessed androgyne beings all around you, and also on the world stage in any situation, because they outnumber the human race now by vast numbers, because the human race has gradually been eliminated from the earth. And because we can no longer reproduce naturally, we've not been able to keep up the human population. So therefore the androgyne population is large and the human population is very small now. This is part of the deception too, or the endgame deception, because you think that most that's around you is human, or has humanity in it, but it merely pretends that. And because it is transhumanly connected to the remaining smaller number of humans in any given area, basically they can copy the human thoughts, and therefore they're copying human creative, productive ideas. So if I am seeing a fault in something, like I noticed, I could use a million small detailed examples, but it shows you that they're connected to your brain, and also they're watching your very actions, even inside, say, a very private place, like inside this place. Because if an example of that, I shouldn't use examples, but I will anyway, but I could use a million examples. You go into the supermarket and you see all your tastes and all your ideas on most of the products, whether everything from food to, to useful items. Like, for instance, most of the plastic garbage bags that I've been putting the rubbish in, they would all be wet on the bottom and wet through to the floor and very messy and wet. The next day I go into the supermarket and they've got plastic bags that don't get wet on the bottom, because they've had the regular plastic bags there for years and years. But only when they see me concerned in my own house, mind you, do they say, oh, well, we will show how useful we are to the human population and even for the androids by putting this simple little thing into play. But it's not like they give me anything for that information. They merely take it because of the transhuman connection. So they get the credit for making the leak-proof bags. That's just one example. Everything from foodstuffs, like any flavour that I particularly like if I like lime and lemon, it will be in half the products. Even not just in foods, but even in cleaning products, etc. Everything will always be, because they also want to give the androids the human connection. They're trying to take my life and my mind from me. And then they're suppressing and limiting you and trying to completely, really get rid of you at a physical level when they gaslight you all over the streets. Everywhere you look, you have bright flashing lights in your eyes. You have excessively loud vehicles around you all night, and astronomical numbers when there should be only a few vehicles on the road, because we have a total billion dollar underground tunnel system that was supposed to take the traffic off all the roads. And it does take the traffic off all the roads, except where they are patrolling and literally dehumanizing the human beings by sending bumper to bumper traffic jams and excessive traffic around them wherever I go. This is how you know that it's not real and it's not natural, and that you are surrounded by a suppressive control force, because they're really taking your life from you. They're taking over my sight, because they know everywhere I'm looking, because they're seeing the reality with a transhuman connection through my eyes, so they can blink their lights and come into your space wherever you look. So your life is a living hell. And they're taking the energy from you while they do that, because that brings you to a very low mental state. You know, I'm saying this loud and clear, but the reality is it's a losing battle. And it's not even a battle that you want to be in, but you can't stop a whole society from patrolling you and controlling you, especially when the technology is very invisible too. It's like the direct energy that is sent to you. It's like my foot right this very moment doesn't feel normal, like it feels like as though it's a dull pain all over it, but I'm so used to it. But of course I can still walk on it. And of course, if you move around, the direct energy is harder for them to pinpoint it at you. You know, so when you sit or when you're in your place, they can direct it much more intensely. But it's basically all about taking over your mind, because don't forget, as many have told me, if they can bring you to a low depressed mental state, or even to where you're angry and incredibly frustrated, that anger and that negative energy that you feel will be directed at your own body. And that's how they do it, because they know that they win either way. Because if you direct it at them, then you're in trouble. You're an aggressive, mad, antisocial, anti-human person, because you've directed anger in a physical way at another human being, even though they're really psychopathic androgyne beings. And if you know you can't do that, because then you're in hot water, shall we say, and also they want the anger energy. That is fuel for them. These beings need human anger energy, human depressed energy. Anything that's negative fuels them and powers them. This is something that is not generally known, but it is coming into common knowledge. Because what you can't see energy. And you don't think of you as a human being as a power source. But everything is frequency, vibration and energy, and human beings are also frequency, vibration and energy, because if everything is frequency, vibration and energy, well, of course, human beings are frequency, vibration and energy. You know, they're frequency, vibration and energy. and she's sending negative energy at me because she's got a negative energy gun or a direct energy gun, and it's directed at me, even from the screen. Okay? She's showing me that, and she's a one-eyed follower of Lucifer. Doesn't matter how and she's holding the gun. It's holding the gun. Holding the gun. Holding the gun. Holding the gun. There. Holding the gun. That's Nikita. Holding the gun. Holding the gun. It's holding the gun. Holding the gun. Holding the gun. Oh, jeez. Where was I? Hold on. Oh, see, when that image, that's what I say, the computer and any image, anything that takes over your sight, see how I was looking at the TV screen and therefore the image then made me go towards the screen with this mobile phone, see, I did that, and then I got transfixed by the image, and I lost my mind or my train of thought as I was speaking, because I was actually kind of making a bit of, you know, I was on a roll, as they say, you know, but and I shouldn't really be using demigods, whether they be actors or music artists. I shouldn't really use their imagery, but I think that they are what a lot of human beings relate to, because they are your more creative demigods. It's harder to see them as, you know, end time deceiving disciples of the powers that be and the Luciferian God that the powers that be operate for. It's very difficult to see them that way, because they sing you a song that you think is the same as your own emotions. And it is, because they're transhumanly connected to your brain. So they actually are you know, they actually are singing your song. But it's not really their song. It's not really their song. And I have to use the pretty, you know, seductive images that come up. These things come up for me every day, so as they come up, I just film them. I could use a million different images, but these ones come up, so I use them. These ones come up, so I use them. Is that okay? I'm sorry that I can't go through a million different actors and million different movie idols and a million different well-known earth stage performers that are famous and, you know, household names, as they say, but I can only just put the ones that come up on the computer at a given time. Sometimes they come up just because, you know, just because they think that I'll take notice of them. And you do too, you know. So I'm just going to finish. I would prefer to do more real, but the unreal always tries to pull me in. Unreal always tries to pull me in, as it will pull you in too. Whatever is something that you've been conditioned to be magnetically drawn to, it will. Many men will be magnetically drawn to these images, but also depending on how warped your programming is, you know, because most human programming will be warped to make you into something that you shouldn't be, or that isn't going to make you happy, shall we say. That's, I would put it, because everything is frequency, vibration and energy, and human happiness is a high frequency, vibration and energy, and they don't want human beings to be high frequency and vibration and energy. Only the demigods are allowed to influence or control the masses, as they say. Oh. Can't turn it off. Can't turn. Peter's got a gun, and she's actually wants to stay on the video. I can't stop the bullets from being fired from Peter. Divine. And divine from the dark side, because everything is spiritual, but there's dead dark spirits or anti-human spirits, and then there's life spirits. So everything is kind of technical but also spiritual, which is kind of mind-boggling for me anyway, and I'm just going to stop before I make more of a fool of myself.